Welcome, everyone. It's time for our Eve Consciousness Zoom session. This is Eve TV. And today we're talking about what? We're talking about transitioning out of polarity eyes. Okay, we're talking about how to move from the perceptions of polarity into a non-polar view. This is the biggest challenge of the transition that we're in right now. Okay, so it was occurring to me today, folks, that this generation and all who are living right now during this transitional time, we have the hardest work. Okay, we're the Wayshowers. We're carving out a new path, and it means we are moving from the era behind us and all of the input, even in our DNA, that our ancestors, all of the knowledge and understanding of the human journey up to this point is within us. And there's no previous experience of Eve consciousness in the way that we're moving into and what we are expecting ourselves to hold up now. We don't have any previous work with that to step on at this moment. We're going to be the shoulders that the future generations step on. We're the ones that are launching that, okay? So just understand that the work that we are here to do is important work. Your soul volunteered to come here at this time and be a part of this shift. And yes, there's work to be done. And yes, today we're going to talk about the biggest challenge of moving into our destiny, the biggest challenge of letting go of the holdups that the past has created, okay, let me change that. Letting go of the holdups that we've created for ourselves in the past. That has been a norm for society, a norm for the human journey on planet Earth, a norm culturally within families, within cultures of countries, a norm for the human race. We're moving out of what was normal into a new norm. We're the ones creating that. So I want to thank you for joining today, knowing that we need to hold on to each other. We need to bring in all the support that we can get to go through this task, this journey of shifting from the old into the new. And that's what we're here for today. So I thank you for being with me. I want to talk about housekeeping for just a minute as we go into this session. So I want to thank those of you who are already on. I want to let you know that I've got chat box here on the screen. And if you write me a question and put your name on it, I'm going to try to be technically advanced enough to unmute your mic and make it to where we can hear you. There's a couple of you who still have your mics unmuted, and I'm going to ask that everyone do mute your mic, please, if you will. I'm going to help a couple people here now. But when we go into questions and answers, I'd love to hear you speak as well as read your question, okay? So let's join together and let's create the space and go into the energy of bringing in higher guidance and not just knowledge, but tools of change and recalibration of the mind, of the energy, of the conduit that we are, for it to open further today during the session so that you may bring through even a clearer yet demonstration of that highest frequency that we are channeling, that we are vessels of, that you may be an expansion now of more of the purity of your true soul essence, which is God. You have come from that. It flows to you and through you. It is ultimately what you are. We're going to move a little bit further into stretching the personality out of the way and allowing for that truth, the highest you, to flow through, because that is where your new eyes come from. That true essence sees through eyes of non-judgment. That true essence knows the power and understands the relationship between your thoughts and your eternal essence and this limited finite world. It understands all of that. So the more we open and allow for that to flow through us, the easier it is for us to be that non-polarized being in a polar world, okay? Now, we made a joke and said everybody who comes dressed as a polar bear today gets a free entry to the raffle. Okay, we've got a raffle drawing that's happening on September the 15th for a free attendance to, a free ticket to the E.V.E Consciousness launch, the global launch in Lugano, Switzerland this November. So if you have come dressed as a polar bear, then I want you to give me an indication in the chat box, and we're going to bring your camera up. Okay, if you have just thought of polar bears, then you get half a step towards an entry to the raffle. So do one more thing and you'll be in, okay? That means we'll have another half a step next time. But we're going to let everybody who's dressed as a polar bear to get an entry to the raffle, and everybody who has referred someone else who's joining us today to get another entry into the raffle. So if you've referred someone, please email me and give me their email address or addresses, and we'll put you in for each person that you've referred another time into the raffle. For those who saw the Zoom invitations, and if you haven't seen it, please go to your email, check it out, and you'll see there an honoring moment for Rico Rakowski, who actually has contributed this free ticket. He's a big supporter for E.V.E Consciousness. He's written a powerful book called Just Two Choices that says life is about going the highway or the low way, thought by thought, moment by moment. You have the choice, this way or that way. Which way are you going to turn yourself? Which way are you going to focus your energy? Which way are you going to turn your own thought? Just Two Choices is in complete harmony with the teachings of E.V.E Consciousness and the understandings that we're going through today as we discuss transcending polarity consciousness, moving out of the polarized eyes that judge and condemn and resist, the polarized eyes that, as the Buddhist teachings speak, cause craving and aversion, which is the root of all suffering. The root of all suffering comes from craving and aversion. So as we move to a new perspective that no longer holds that lower judgment, we move into an experience of peace, of joy, an end to our suffering, even though we're living in a polarized world, okay? That is ultimately the goal of the human journey, is for us to be in it, where Jesus said, be in the world, but not of it. I am in a polarity consciousness world. I have all possibilities around me, and I have challenges come up in my life. How do I respond to those events that I did not expect and is not what I was intending or hoping for? How do I respond to that? If I judge it, resist it, condemn it, I do two things. I create suffering for myself in that moment. And secondly, I create a resistant energy that denies that other thing that I'm intending, that this is not. So when I focus on this, when I hold resistance to this, when I feel unhappy about this, I'm creating future thises for me, okay? I'm creating more of this same thing, more of what I don't like, okay? When I allow myself to receive what this is, when I quickly shift my thoughts, even if I expected something else, even if I'm focused on something else, and I see this that is not what I'm expecting, not what I'm hoping and intending for come up, the faster I can move through the judgment and resistance and quickly see this thing, this conversation, this person, this event where somebody cut me off in traffic, Okay, this consequence in life of whatever kind that I don't want, as soon as I see it through the eyes of love, as soon as I let go of judgment and I no longer resist it, I empower that which I'm intending. I allow this to weaken in its energetic appearance in my life. I weaken it by not giving it my focus, not giving it my attention. And I strengthen my vibrational frequency being a match to all the good things that I intend by causing myself to feel love and appreciation and gratitude instead of negativity, resistance, anger, bitterness, loss, defeated, all those lower frequencies, which now pull me down. I might not be all the way here as my net energetic effect, but me having this resistance to what has shown up will lower my net frequency. So the faster you can shift and say, oh, what a surprise. I wonder what blessing this is bringing. For every door that closes, another window opens. I can't wait to see what surprises are going to come next and see how the Holy Spirit is going to bring the solution to this interesting challenge. How fun is this? How expansive is this? I embrace, I appreciate, I love what has shown up, even though it's not what I was thinking. It's not what I was focused on. It's not what I'm intending. I'm seeing it as my stepping stone to get there. My stepping stone. That's what it is. So today we're here to talk about the stepping stones. Today we're here to understand and appreciate how we are to change our perceptions and move out of the polar eyes that see through judgment and rejection, as well as infatuation and elevation. Okay, these polarities on both ends are two sides of the same coin. The resistance and the infatuation are two sides of the same coin. It's when we bring this perception into balance. Oh, interesting. Hello. I want this. I don't want that. Okay, when we bring these two voices into balance and seeing through the eyes of peace, of unconditional love, we don't feel infatuated and needy and really, really desperately wanting this thing and really, really desperately resisting that thing. We come to a place of balance, of what is called in the Buddhist teachings the equanimous mind. The equanimous mind. This is seeing through the eyes of Christ consciousness. Let's bring that into the conversation. Let's think about, I have a visual that I'm going to bring in, excuse me for just a second. Most of you recognize this symbol. Okay, I was recently asking the question, how has this symbol of the cross, even with as many Christians as there are who say, look, it's not about focusing on the crucifixion. It's about the resurrection. It's about the empowerment. It's about the life that comes after the suffering, the life and the abundance. And I was asking the question within. I was asking the universe, I was asking the Holy Spirit, minister to me, what is this? What is the significance of this? For months I was asking, and then I traveled to Europe last December with my husband, and we explored all the places that we're going to be going in the excursions after the E.V.E. Consciousness launch this November. Those excursions that go to the Vatican and Rome and meet with the Pope, and that go to the highest sacred mountain peaks in all of Europe, in Zermatt, Switzerland, in the Swiss Alps, and the excursion that goes to the caves of Mary Magdalene, exploring the Christian mystic sites and the sacred esoteric knowledge and places that has developed and been held through the eons there in France. And I went into churches, which is something I haven't done much of in life. I haven't attended the types of churches that were embracing ceremony and ritual in the way that many of these churches were, and that many of Catholic churches do. They're holding a lot of symbolism and crucifixion crosses, and it was ministered to me, folks, the beauty and the importance of this. And this is important to us today as we talk about transcending polarity consciousness, changing the view. Okay, so if you think of the cross of the crucifixion, the cross of Christ, unconditional love balances the scales of our perception. So when we hold closely to wanting and appreciating and only loving this range, and judging and condemning this range, we've tipped the scales quite a lot. Okay, we're looking up one way and down another. This is polarity consciousness. Polarity consciousness says, I really love this, love this, love this. I need this, need this, need this. I gotta have this, gotta have this, gotta have this. I hate that. I resist that. That's the enemy. That's Satan. I'm being attacked because it's not what I want. Okay, I make myself suffer when I encounter this. This is the polarity experience, okay? On the cross, as that vessel of consciousness called Jesus, which actually called Yeshua HaMashiach, but we've put an English nickname and made importance about that nickname that we call Jesus. When that being was on this cross, holding the perception and the frequency of unconditional love amongst suffering, suffering physically, suffering emotionally and mentally. This being had just been betrayed by one of his 12 disciples, and in a way by human life itself. Not long before this, he was sweating blood. Blood was coming from this human's pores, and he wept, and he cried out to God and said, if there's any way that this cup could be lifted from me, if there's any way for me to achieve what I am here for without having to bear this suffering that I'm getting ready to endure, let it happen. But thy will be done. Not my will, the little self, but thy will, the higher self, the higher will. I surrender this lower will, which resists the pain, resists the betrayal, resists the physical permeation of this physical body, that which resists these things that my lower consciousness and my physical body, which is a lower consciousness, suffer through. May that will that wants comfort and ease instead of that pain, may that will be made less, and this higher will, where there is no pain, be more. Okay? Jesus was a bringer of an enormous energetic transition, just as we are called to be now. We've got the hard work ahead. Okay? So here he was looking at this incredibly hard task ahead, sweating blood in the Garden of Gethsemane and saying, may this cup be lifted, but I surrender to the higher will. I will endure it. I will do it. Okay? Then he comes on the cross with such determination that was built by what? The focus that was created. Even in that time, think about it, folks. Who and how can you sweat blood out of your pores? Imagine the intensity of that energy in this physical body, the intensity and focus of that leading up to this crucifixion. Perspiring blood. that focus and that resolve and that commitment to higher will launched the energy that was able to sustain itself on the crucifixion cross. On the cross, what happened? This being that we call Jesus endured physical torture, physical pain. So understand, this physical body is wired for polarity consciousness. Your physical body feels and enjoys pleasure with certain experiences and feels and endures pain with other experiences. This physical body, untuned, unaltered from its most natural raw form, experiences extremes of pleasure and of pain. This is the basis for addiction. It's the basis for addiction. If only we knew how many human beings' lives are being run by addictions right now, not just those to substances. Addictions to emotional responses. Do you know that anger can be a powerful addiction? We can have an addiction to having an angry reaction, Why? Because it gives us some relief of feeling disempowered. We feel more empowered when we react angrily, have an angry outburst. We feel some sense of, I have some control in my life. So when we feel powerless, when we come up upon something happening in life that we have a polarized judgment about, and we allow that event to throw us into a story within a millisecond that says, I feel threatened and I feel powerless. So my response now, my addictive response, is to do what I know and what I've done so many times before that makes me feel more powerful in this moment. I'm going to be angry. You shouldn't be that way. I'm going to protest. I'm going to, I'm going to come with violent energy, violent feelings, violent responses in my language or just in my thought. I'm going to feel violent feelings against, with resistance too, because what happens? I well up an energy within me that makes me feel my power. Let me remind us that this power that we feel from anger is a lower power, but it is power. It's more than being in the lowest frequency of total disempowerment, depression, powerlessness. I can't do anything. So we do feel relief. We do feel better when we move into this angry response of power. However, if we stay addicted and going into and into over and over again this type of response, we are getting the limited response that all addictions give us. All addictions cause us to feel some relief for a time. And then we go back down again. It's not a lasting change. It's not a lasting change. And many, 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 many people on the planet are living their lives in an addictive pattern that brings them up for a minute and back down, and only up to this one level, up to a feeling of perceived relief. And mind you, the physical body is honed into this. The physical body feels relief. The physical body feels better in an angry outburst than it does in a state of disempowerment and depression. You will feel better, okay? And then if you start judging yourself for that and disempowering yourself further, you'll go right back down into depression and feeling unworthy and self-judgment until you have the next angry outburst, which makes you feel a bit better. Okay, this step coming up is not a bad thing. But staying in an addictive pattern that runs your life puts a ceiling on your vibrational increase. And our aim ultimately is to transcend these polar eyes that we're talking about today, ongoing, to where we are not hitting a ceiling over and over again, and then coming back down in an addictive pattern that goes, okay, I feel better, and then the next thing happens that I judge and I feel bad again. And at the same time, I'm holding my frequency down here, so I'm attracting lots of matches to that low frequency. I'm bringing lots of opportunities for me to react and feel judgment and feel disempowered, because what's coming at me is not my highest intention. Okay, if we're working this rhythm down here, we keep attracting that. And so it's like a feedback loop. We stay stuck, all right? We've come to the era of Eve consciousness where it's time to transcend that limitation and for all of us to move higher. And we have the ability, we have the energy in the field of the planet now. We have the tools, we have the technology, we have the support of one another and our non-physical friends. And we have the support of Christ consciousness, of the energy that was emitted at this period of time while Christ was on that cross. So to complete this story, as I traveled in Europe, and I went into some of these churches and saw these crosses everywhere and felt the energy, the potent, beautiful power that's created through some of these buildings. Even an energetic environment has been created. And for those who have ears to hear, for those who are able to walk into those places consciously, aware of the energy around us, those things are tools for raising frequency that are incredibly powerful. I was amazed at the experience of otherworldly experience I engaged in when I was in some of these churches that had ceilings that were painted beautiful, intricate murals of the sky and clouds and heaven filled with angels. I was able to feel and have fed, even through my senses, through my visuals, and through the energy and what my body felt. I was able to have a spiritual experience that was facilitated by the environment created in that church. This is where I'm coming to a new appreciation for the energy and the support that the religious structure has indeed created. Now, yes, there's been twists of that. There's been misperceptions. There's been changes from what was the origins of these practices into what they ultimately became. We've distorted a lot of original messages, or, you know, the world has, and that is perfectly fine as part of our growing challenge in this polarity realm. And now we're at that place of transcending those polarized perceptions, transcending even the limitations of religious thought into what it ultimately helps us to get to, which is this higher consciousness. It's embodying and being the Christ consciousness, rightly balanced with the polarity consciousness that brings choice. We then are able to be those perfect thought form creators. So these are steps to our destiny. And this cross, as this symbol, is reminding us, even subconsciously, even energetically, this symbol that people wear around the world that have tattooed on their body, whether they're religious or not. The human race has in many places been attracted to this symbol. And it came to my awareness that the symbol of the cross represents the highest frequency that has been emitted to date on this planet. It was the absolute highest frequency of unconditional love. Unconditional love is what causes the release of the polarity perception. Unconditional love frees you from the limitations of polarity view. It looks upon what causes pain, and without judgment, it brings love to that anyway. That's what happened on that cross. In the moment, look, 90 years later, things don't look the same. Okay, let's go into that for a minute. Time changes perception. And we have examples, studies that have been done that say the day after a spouse has had an affair, if the other spouse learns about it, there's an enormous reaction to that, okay? If that spouse learns about their spouse cheating on them 5 years later, there's still an upset, but it's not as harsh as the day after. If this spouse learns of the cheating 20 years later, there's not going to be as harsh of a reaction because of time. Now, here's the joke. Two 90-year-olds who've been married for 70 years have a conversation, and old Joe tells Emma, after 70 years of marriage, that when they were 25 years old, he had an affair. Emma may look back with old Joe, who's 90 years old and who she's been married to for 70 years, and go, oh my gosh, tell me all about it, okay? She may be interested in what that journey was like and want to know whatever excitements he had happen in that affair when he was 25. So understand that what seems life or death and incredibly disturbing at one point in time, at another point on the timeline, may be laughable, or maybe something we look back on and appreciate. So that happens naturally anyway, without intentionally transcending polar consciousness, okay? Now I'm saying we can start playing with the timeline. We can move into the view of the future self, of the higher self as well, and look back on this and laugh and smile and shake our head knowingly and say, wasn't that a helpful challenge because it helped launch this? Didn't that assist me in becoming stronger, in becoming more advanced, and in having a tool to work with to overcome my own judgment, my own polarity perspective? So know that every time that we are confronted with something that would normally or previously in polar logic cause us pain in the body, pain in the mind, every time we have that and the pain hits, and then we step out of the pain, we move into a view that says, I allow you. I don't just allow you, I open my arms to you. I accept you. I embrace you. I forgive you. I don't resist. Like the martial artist, Tai Chi and Qigong are two of the many martial arts that instead of using resistance as force, use allowance as power, okay? So someone comes at me to attack me, instead of me resisting them, putting up my force fields, you know, hitting against me hard and solid, or me trying to hit back, I invite that force that comes at me. In fact, I escort it into my field and I help it on through. I give it no resistance. I give it no place to land. Then what happens? It doesn't cause me energy. I am invisible to it. It goes right through me. It goes right past me. Somebody's throwing their fist at me. Instead of me standing in front of it or trying to stop it, I escort it on through. I allow that force to keep moving. I help it. I even help gently assist that person in continuing in the direction that they have pushed themselves as they came towards me. I move out of the way. And what happens? That person falls down. They fall upon themselves. Their hit goes nowhere. They hurt their shoulder, right? It has no resistance to land on. When we make ourselves the non-resistant self that allows for whatever life brings to pass on through, we've moved into the highest level of power. And that power, once again, was emitted through this frequency, unconditional love on the cross. When Jesus Christ, at the moment in time of enduring physical, emotional, mental pain, okay, betrayal mentally and emotionally, Injustice. Injustice is one of the biggest challenges, maybe the biggest challenge for the human journey. When we perceive something as unjust, when we are misunderstood, wrongly condemned. I know there's one beautiful woman in our Joy is the Key group who has written a book that has come from her own experience of being wrongly judged and condemned to prison and spending prison time for something she did not do. Imagine that feeling, okay? Here's Jesus Christ being crucified for a crime he has not done, okay? Even the Caesar didn't really, he just said, look, I put it over to the people. I'm not going to condemn that man. I'm not going to put that on my head. Because even out of his own view, his own logical human view said, I don't see where this man has done anything worthy of this punishment. But I leave it to you, the people. And the masses said, crucify him, crucify him. Okay, that was the voice of the higher plan, because this was a part of the human journey stepping forward. And this being came to bring about an emission and a transfer of an energetic frequency that would forever be on the earth and able to help us move up and up and up. This Christ consciousness frequency was crystallized and brought to its highest level on the cross. That's why that symbol is so important, and it's why it's so attractive to many people, to rock stars who are wearing cross necklaces, who are wearing jewelry or tattoos of this symbol of the cross. That cross symbolizes the highest frequency, which is also the most empowering frequency that a human being can access on planet Earth. It is the frequency of unconditional love. Unconditional love can be injured by nothing. Unconditional love allows for everything and is not injured, is not weakened. Unconditional love brings the resurrection. It brings eternal life. It brings the ultimate you. When you transcend the polarity eyes and move into a new view that says, forgive them. I forgive it. And God, universe, all that is around me, all that is, I'm declaring my forgiveness and inviting you to also forgive. In fact, I'm not just inviting, I'm telling you, forgive them. They know not what they do. So we understand that this that comes upon us, that's not what we're intending, is not an actual intentional attack on us. Ultimately, even if it's a person who out of their personality and perception is wanting to do you in, is wanting to take you to court and take everything you've got, is wanting to pull you out of whatever position that you are in, even if you think from this lowest story that someone knows what they're doing, ultimately, it is not an intentional attack on you. This that is coming from another force that moves it. And you have a lot to do with that force. This that is coming is a repercussion showing up in your life that is from your past. The present that you are experiencing is the manifestation of the past. It is bringing forward the outer expression of the net energetic frequency that you are aligned with from your past. So what you've been putting out, which includes all of your moments of anger and the low frequency that they have emitted, all of your beliefs of disempowerment that have put out an energetic statement, all of your presumptions of how life is and how humans are, and the challenges, how hard life is, all of that range that expects challenges in life draws to us eventually a manifestation of that very thing, of that expected thing. Every part of our consciousness that in the past has said sickness is just a part of life, aging is just a part of life, life gets hard, travel wears you out, it's hard to move up in the world, you know, you got to work hard and save to earn money. Okay, everything that we have presumed in the past about our relationship to the world around us is emitted out into the field, and the net outcome of that is coming back to us now, that which is a result of the past. Understand that. And if we resist it now and reinforce it by saying, see there, look how bad life is. As much as I'm working on my consciousness, and as much as I'm watching these Zoom sessions, and as much as I'm joining with joy is the key, and I'm lifting myself up, life still hurts anyway. Life's hard anyway. It's so hard to get there. If you let that set up this thought for you, you will continue perpetuating this same thing happening. Because in this moment, you're creating your future. You're experiencing your past. Your energetic past is what you're experiencing in your physical world right now. But how you respond to that is creating your future. Understand that. Every thought, every feeling, most importantly feeling, every feeling is creating your physical future. That's what's happening. And so this that's coming at you, forgive it because it knows not what it's doing. Those that were crucifying Jesus, they didn't realize, you know, from one level, they didn't realize this is the Christ that I am hammering up here. They didn't realize what Christ was. They had a misperception. But beyond that, they didn't realize that this is an energetic reality. They didn't realize that we are eternal beings. They know not what they do. This that's coming, the consciousness of thought, the lower consciousness of thought that's behind whatever is coming at you that you're challenged by, that person that pulled their car in front of you on the road, they may not even know they did that. That might have been completely unintentional, but what if they're looking right at you, throwing a finger up and turning their car in front of you? Can you still say they know not what they're doing? The answer is yes. They don't know that they are energetic, eternal beings living in an energetic reality, and that their thought and intention and feeling right now as they go to do something aggressive and violent towards you is creating a negative future for themselves. They don't know that. They don't realize that. This is all being done out of ignorance. Ultimately, it's all being done out of ignorance. Every intention that is against yours is out of ignorance. But it's also out of response to a vibrational pull that is bringing in an exact mathematical match to what you have emitted vibrationally in your past. So get that. So then on all levels, this is a natural occurrence that you can let go of judgment and reaction towards. This is a natural occurrence, an energetic vibrational occurrence from your past that you can let go of judgment about. And even if you look at any personalities involved in what causes you to feel an opposition against you, they don't know. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand energetically what's going on here. This is not an intentional knowing assault energetically. This is coming out of ignorance. Even ignorance that I'm a limited being and I'm a personality, and if I fight against this other personality, I'm somehow going to get somewhere that I want. That's all ignorance. And it's ignorance of even knowing what we are and what this world is. So this is your reminder. Forgive them. Christ consciousness. Unconditional love is how we step out of the polarized eyes. They know not what they do. They don't know. I forgive them. I command that forgiveness be here. And so in doing so, I raise my response to this to a high frequency. It moves on through. I'm the Qigong master. I no longer resist it. And as I do not resist it, it carries on in its own path without me. And I raise myself above it. I raise myself above it. I graduate from this consciousness that even looks upon it from that level. I am no longer there. That is where we're going. So the question is, how? How? Okay, so notice, folks, I'm the lady in red today. Red lips, red clothes, red everything. Why? Because we start from the base and work up. And working with polarity eyes and moving into the transcension of that starts with the base chakra, which is red. So right now, I'm going to invite you, choose to wear red. For the next week, find red in your life. Support yourself with the frequency of this color. Support yourself with an intention to feed strength and wholeness into your foundational energetic center, which is the base or root chakra. This is where the wound of insecurity exists. This is where fear and survival instinct come from. This is where our polarity perception emits its frequency. It comes from the base chakra. We were wired with this. Your physical body holds polarity consciousness. We're going to be rewiring ourselves. We're going to be creating new neural pathways. We're going to be filling any voids in the base root chakra and bringing in a deeper sense of security, of safety, and of power. Okay? As we feed ourselves on the frequency of Christ consciousness, the vibration of unconditional love and acceptance. Notice that this symbol is shaped like a set of scales. So when you think of the scales of justice and the scales of balance, when it's tipped to one side or the other, this is where judgment exists, and we see something is right and something is wrong. There's an imbalance there, okay? When we bring those scales to balance, there is no judgment. We see through the eyes that look at the light and that look at the dark. And through those eyes, looking at the light side and the dark side, the good and the perceived bad, the terrorism, the children starving to death, okay? The betrayal in life, the horrendous suffering and death caused by acts of God, nature, floods, hurricanes. I know a family who were all picked up in a tornado and spun around and then dropped back down on the earth, and every one of them lived. And they've had post-traumatic stress disorder ever since. Okay, when we move to a place where we can look at those disasters, those perceived horrendous expressions of humanity in life, and we can hold this balance, forgive them, forgive it, all serves. We are a vibrational reality. We are eternal beings. This physical world is an illusion. Then we've transcended the polar eyes. So practice wearing your red, feeling the solidness of your safety in this world. Let yourself, when something comes on the news, when something comes in your field, when you even hear about something that seems horrible, allow yourself to look at it. Don't look away. This isn't about covering our eyes and doing all that the way I've done most of my life when some scene came up in a movie, or avoiding movies of bad things altogether. I came to a point in training, spiritual training, 3 years ago when I was on a spiritual fast. And on the third day, I saw this gold triangle over my head, and it was spinning clockwise. It was spinning clockwise. And then I got a counterclockwise spin, but there was energetic training and understanding that came through. Part of my training was to watch movies I've never, ever watched. A movie came up with, oh, I can't even remember the name of it, but the man was like a mass murderer. And it was graphic. And I've never watched that type of thing before because I wanted to avoid that. And that was perfect for me at that time. But guess what? They said to me, look at this. Look at this through new eyes. Train your mind, train your brain to see that which your lower self would perceive as horrendous, as unoffensive, as just exchange taking place. Look at it and don't judge it. And train your brain to have a new way of experiencing and viewing and translating these circumstances into your consciousness. Don't be pulled down by that. Bring yourself, and don't avoid it to keep yourself here. It's time now to engage with it and hold a high consciousness. Unconditional love that looks at that with love and doesn't judge, condemn, and resist is what will transmute that energy. That's how the new world gets created. When we look at the horrors of life and we're no longer horrified, not because we're callous, not because we have a horrific thought ourselves and we want to be part of that, but because we're holding this highest frequency that smiles to all, and that sees and knows what is going on here as a vibrational reality, doesn't buy into the illusion anymore. And when you look at that, which was horrifying, and you hold this balanced state of what is this state? It's balance and it's inner peace. It's not resistant and it's not infatuated. It's not craving for good things, and it's not averted to bad things. It's neutral. It's balanced. It's at a place of inner joy and peace. Happiness can be up here. I'm so excited. I just can't, I just can't get enough. I'm up here. I'm on this high vibe. Or I'm down here. I'm really sad and depressed. These are superficial experiences. Our deeper truth is a state of peace and joy, of knowing who we are. And yes, we can engage with pieces of this as we're in the human realm, but ultimately we're bringing through something new. And as we do, there's a deeper, truer fulfillment that we experience. It's amazing. It is heaven within us. It's the kingdom of God within. And as we hold it within us and look upon the things that would traditionally cause us to feel fear, anger, upset, and we hold that balance. Now I'm asking you, wear this color, understand these thoughts, start small. Start small. Look at the little thing. Listen to the news. And instead of feeling yourself get all resistant and having judgment, and it shouldn't be like this or that, practice while you listen to the news, holding a state of non-polar eyes. Holding a state of remembering while you're listening to it. Remember who and what you are, who and what we all are. And remember that this is a vibrational reality and that your response to that that's in your field is feeding that vibrational field. And it is determining what's going to come next in your life. So as you become a master of holding this higher view, and of not resisting what comes up, and of allowing it, like that martial artist, I allow you. I resist no more. I look upon you with love. I appreciate that which is in opposition to me. I bless you. I bless you. In truth, I bless you. I don't just forgive you for being in opposition to me. I transcend forgiveness. I transcend judgment. And I say, I'm so thankful that you're here. And you are being a catalyst for me to hold this high frequency amongst this lower vibe. And as I do, I'm feeding the field of the planet that creates a new world. And I'm feeding my own personal future, which will no longer be a match to that. It can't show up. As I continue to feed my field and be up here, this will no longer come into my reality. It's going to be further and further away, because the only thing that can come is a match to that. That's what will happen. That's what we're creating. The new world overall, and the new experience of life personally. That's what we have. So I thank you today for joining and understanding what the tools are of transcending polarity consciousness. We've just got a couple of minutes left. I'd love to take a question. If there's more than one question, I'd love for you to write your questions to me. You can put them on your chat box now, or you can email them to me at lesliewells5@gmail.com. And next week, we're going to address specific questions. Okay? We're going to ask everyone that comes in next week to watch this show if they hadn't seen it already. So the foundation is here. But as you come in next week, we're going to be putting these understandings to application. We're going to be working with your own personal circumstances. Come forward and let us know next week. What did you encounter? How did it go when you watched the news? How were you able to hold that balanced perception while you looked at the things that previously would have been upsetting for you? Okay? I don't see any messages to me yet on chat. So, if you haven't felt inspired to ask anything or to bring anything up now, I'm just going to put out that invitation one more time. Feel free to email to me, or you can still put in the chat box. I'm going to leave it up for a little while. Any thought or question that you would like to address, and we're going to go through the application of the understandings of non-polar eyes, the non-polar view, while we're still in a polarity experience, being in the world but not of the world, not a victim to the world. And we're going to go into that next week, applying these principles, okay? So bring your real life circumstances so we've got something great to work with, okay? So folks, I'm going to ask that we go into a state of prayerful meditation as we close, so that I can send you out with a beautiful new vibration, and we can all leave supported together. Okay, thank you. If one is just observing life instead of living life, what should one do? I'm saying that when we are the martial artist, when we are the Tai Chi expert, when we are the martial artist who doesn't avoid life, we don't just observe it. We engage with it. But how do we engage with it? We embrace it. So we go there. Last night, my husband and I went to a bar, and I drank water because I'm on a spiritual fast myself, while he was eating his burger and drinking his beer and watching these people dancing and flirting and all this amazing human experience. And I was in there. Was I just observing? No. I was moving to the music. I was feeling the goodness of it. I was loving what was going on, right? But I wasn't in a place of need and greed or resistance and judgment. So if a fight had broken out in that place, I wasn't going to run from the room. I wasn't going to judge, and I wasn't going to get an upset. At the state I was in, I would have been able to quickly smile to it and not let it hit me in a way that I brought up resistance, okay? Or that would be the ultimate goal, to where I'm not just observing, I'm participating, but how are we participating? How are we participating? I'm saying stop avoiding the horror movies. Stop avoiding the unconscious people. Stop avoiding the religious groups, okay? Go into it with new eyes. Find the beauty to experience in this world. Participate with it. But your participation is embracing it. I love you. I love it. I engage with you. I bring light and love and embrace to you as you are right now. I don't hold judgment. I don't pull away. I don't resist. I engage with you from a higher consciousness of love. So at the moment, as we're getting there, we're looking at life as our training ground that we definitely engage with. If we avoid it and we stay in our little cave of separation, there's no progress. We're not going to evolve at all. So we engage. We get in there. We meet up with these people. We become part of. And we bring a higher consciousness, not trying to convert them to anything. We just bring in our acceptance energetically and our appreciation, seeing through our higher eyes. I love all frequencies. That is our motto. I dance with and I love all frequencies. I taste every bit of the ice cream in the Baskin-Robbins store. I have my preferences, but I resist none of them. I'm interested. I'm open to what does that frequency bring. And I find the beauty of what is contributed to the all by everything. Everything. So, folks, I'm so thankful for that question, because the answer here is not, when I say be in the world but not of it, that doesn't mean pull out of the world. Go all the way into the world. Go and be in the world much more than you ever have before. But don't dwell in the fear consciousness and the polarity of the lowest perception. Be in it and love it. Be all the way in it and love it. Get out there. Touch. Go to the football game. Go and hang with people doing things that you previously weren't interested in, and find what's interesting about that. And find yourself working with a broader range of energies and holding love at the same time. So, folks, now I've gone a little over. Sorry for that. Let's go into an energetic receptivity. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, lift your hands with palms up, and let us bring through a new installment of this energy of Christ consciousness, bringing us afresh to a new level of perceiving life and engaging with it. Jesus hung with the prostitutes, with the tax collectors. He turned water into wine for booze at the party, and he was holding a high consciousness. Let's be part of it and bring love, not judgment and not resistance. They will entrain to our higher consciousness as we don't resist anything. Those that are afraid of terrorism will entrain to our higher view that starts to release their fear. And that fear creates terrorism. We understand that. Terrorism is a symptom of a consciousness of fear on the planet. So as we transcend and don't feel fear when we look at terrorism, we are bringing the remedy for the fear and the terror. That's it. We're being that. You are a healer of the planet when you engage with the planet and you hold the higher consciousness. Nankia lanta ya I sekande, jogo ya I diditibidio sekandi, la saya yanke I yanana namania sekanda, losto ua yisha nana namaniasa. Holy Spirit, bringing an injection of a new frequency within us all, bringing a transmutation from the lower frequencies of fear, resistance, and polarized view to the higher frequencies of unconditional love, where we are in it, but not buying into the lower perception. We are seeing through new eyes. We receive now the new eyes of Christ. We receive now the new tools, the new energetic pathways, the new neural pathways. We receive now a transmutation and a change within our own bodies. Our own physiology is now changed. This brain, this mind is being transmuted, has been made anew. This is a renewal of the mind that will translate into a renewal in my life. And everyone who comes into my field and experiences me is going to also receive this gift through me. I am now the bringer of this new mind. It flows to me and through me at all times. I receive it. I am it. I give thanks, and so it is. Take a deep breath in and letting go. Thank you. Viewers now and in the future on YouTube, I ask that after this session, you drink more water than usual, wear the color red or find it around you wherever you can, and hopefully you can join with us next week. We will be at the same place, same time again next week. Write to me between now and then any questions that you would love to address. I send you with blessings and love. Walk sacred.